Hello and welcome to Exclusive with Taghreed Hussein here on Nile TV International. Well, tonight we'll be shedding light on the triumphs of the Egyptian diplomacy recently and shedding light also on Egypt's leading role in the region, how Egypt had exerted efforts and offers the world an effective regional and diplomatic model. Egypt is a great nation that locates in geopolitically important position and linking the Middle East, Africa, as well as Europe. Given this, strengthening Egypt's stability and development, as well as its constructive role in the region, is really important for regional peace as well as stability. Egypt had exerted great efforts in order to establish security and stability in the region, and in order to put an end to armed conflicts and push to a political solution to crises in the region, namely Libya, in Sudan, Syria, Palestine, as well as Iraq and the whole region, and also had intensified efforts in order to preserve the Libyan security and capabilities, and positioned itself as a supporter of the Palestinian cause throughout. And talking about this important topic and more about the triumph of the Egyptian diplomacy in more than one important step, we're really honored to have with us Professor Dr. Noha Bakr, our distinctive professor of political science at AUC. And together we're going to read recently the critical role that has been played by Egypt. Let us start first by brokering a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Dr. Bakr, thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Taghreed. It's a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for having me at Nile TV.
Thank you, dear. Well, it has been, you know, a great triumph for Egypt, brokering the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza after more than 11-day escalation. This has been actually having great positive repercussions around the whole world, and Egypt's efforts had been commended by world leaders.
I totally agree with you. Actually, on this file, Egypt has played its role on diplomatic level, on security level, and also on humanitarian level. And at a later stage, also, we are working on building peace by the president announcing $500 million in order to build the infrastructure, to build a better life for the Palestinian people. I think this is a continuity of the wisdom of the Egyptian foreign policy. As you've mentioned, it is not only the Palestinian file that Egypt has played a major role into, but there are other files that the Egyptian foreign policy and diplomacy has proved wisdom.
Yes, definitely, Dr. Bakr, and we had witnessed two important phone calls between President Abdel Fattah Assisi and the US President Joe Biden, discussing efforts to de-escalate the conflict in Gaza, along with its impact on the whole region. So we can see how both efforts and seeing vis-a-vis eye to eye in a sense of coordination and continuous consultations between both leaders, President Assisi and President Biden, in order to put an end to stagnant files. So I guess that the coming stage is going to witness more sense of coordination in that respect. Dr. Bakr.
I totally agree with you. Actually, there were two phone calls, and there was also a clear recognition and gratitude note on President Biden's speech announcing the truth between the Palestinians and the Israeli side. Not only that, but we also have the visit of the Secretary of State in order to make sure that this truce continues and that stability is brought back into the region. Actually, this file has proved to the United States the importance of Egypt, and that there is not only the network of Egypt in the region and the credibility of Egypt among different leaders in the region, but also has proved to the Americans the importance of Egypt in stability of the whole region.
Yes, definitely. And we had seen on his official Twitter account, the president said it was a pleasure to have such a call with President Biden, and saying that the phone discussion was characterized by understanding and credibility in all the different matters of mutual concern. So this sense of coordination and continuous consultations. They also discussed the latest developments vis-à-vis GERD and also concerning other important issues like the situation in Libya and other regional matters. Dr. Bakr.
There are different files that the strategic relation between Egypt and the United States have been working on since decades. One of these files, or one of these very important files, is fighting terrorists. Egypt has the experience, has the knowledge, and has always had a clear stand in fighting terrorism that has been supportive not only to Egypt but worldwide. This is one of the main files where the cooperation between Egypt and the United States has been very effective, has been very fruitful to the peace worldwide and security. There are other files also that are of concern to Egypt, like the GERD, as you said. It's a file that concerns the water security not only to Egypt but other countries on the Nile. And Egypt's stand has been very clear about respecting the need of the Ethiopians to develop their own country, not depriving them from development, but also respecting the water security of Egypt. Egypt have put in its claim very clearly, has been very patient in the negotiations. Sudan has announced that Ethiopia is making the second water saving inside the dam, which means that they are doing it unilaterally without reaching an agreement. We've seen an article published by the Foreign Policy by our ambassador in Washington, where he said clearly that the role of the United States is highly needed. We've seen during the previous administration that the Americans have tried to play a role in bringing the 2 points of view closer to each other. Unfortunately, that the Ethiopians have not been cooperating, and I'm sure that in the visit of the Secretary of State to Egypt and in his meeting with the President, that this was one of the topics that were on the table of discussion.
Yes, Professor Bakr, also we have more than one level of work. We've seen an important visit by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Paris, the Paris conference for supporting Sudan's transitional period, and the conference was actually a great chance for leaders to meet on the sidelines. The president met with a number of world leaders in order to continue the consultations and the sense of coordination also between Egypt and the African countries.
True. This was recently a very important move from Egypt's side, also to support our brothers and sisters in Sudan. We've helped in elevating debt on Sudan to allow it an opportunity for development, for a better life for our Sudanese brothers and sisters. Sudan is very important to the national security of Egypt. We have common history together, and that's why Egypt have played a major role on this visit on the Sudanese file, and as you kindly mentioned, also on bilateral meetings. I'm sure the different files of security and of the economy has also been discussed.
More on developments and the Qatari foreign minister visiting Egypt, meeting with Egypt's top diplomat, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry. Well, your expectations in opening a new chapter in relations?
This is a very positive move from both countries. Actually, Egypt did not have, or the Egyptians did not have any problem with the Qataris. Egypt have helped in the development of Qatar in its early years, of the development of the state, has always respected Qatar and the Qataris people. Unfortunately, at a certain stage, there were the feeling that there is interference in the Egyptian affairs from the Qatari side. Egypt has put its request very clear that there should be no interference in the Egyptian affairs, and there should be respect to the Egyptians' will and wish, and to the Egyptian leadership. Upon receiving full conformity about what Egypt needs and wants. And Egypt was very open to open channels again with Qatar. We're very keen on maintaining these channels and looking to the future and to a fruitful future between the two countries on all levels.
Yes, another important file, Professor Bakr, is Egypt putting for a political settlement in Libya. And this has been happening for years, calling for a ceasefire, a complete disarming of the militias, an end to the foreign interference and fair distribution of wealth within Libya. So with Egypt's assistance, we are viewing efforts that is going actually to put the Libyan political path forward in the coming stage.
Egypt was viewed by the Libyans as a fair broker for peace making and for peace building in the coming years. Actually, the Libyans have suffered from a dramatic, bloody civil war, and I'm very happy that they are now settling down. I'm very proud that this is with the support of Egypt. The security and the stability of Libya is part of the Egyptian national security. We have more than 1,000 kilometers of borders with Libya. So the security of Libya is very important. And also we care about our Libyan neighbors, who we have not only a long history, but we also have cultural ties, we have sociological ties between the tribes between Libya. We share tribes between Libya and Egypt. We're very happy that now Libya is settling, and I think Egypt will be playing a role in supporting, in building the Libyan institutions, the judicial system, the legislative system, in reaching disarmament, and in developing and supporting the infrastructure that was destroyed by the bloody civil war. Libya is a country that has strong potential. We look forward to a stable Libya where we can communicate, cooperate, and build future together.
Yes, definitely. And from Libya and the pivotal role that Egypt is playing in the region, Turkey is also trying to mend political and economic relations with Egypt. In that respect, Turkey has a great aspiration in order to further strengthen its relations with Egypt. And Egypt and Turkey addressed the need to achieve peace and security in the region. So the efforts in achieving peace and security in the Eastern Mediterranean and collaboration in that file in the coming stage, Professor.
Actually, it's not only the natural gas in the Eastern Mediterranean that is important to Turkey and to Egypt, both to work on together. But also Egypt is a market of 100 million. It's a very important market to the Turkish investors, to the industry. Egypt's geographical location is very important. The historical heritage of Egypt, the cultural weight, the political role it has been played by Egypt very wisely. There are different files that Egypt has handled very wisely, like, for instance, the Syrian file, like the refugees. In Egypt, we have more than 5 million refugees. Egypt, like Qatar, was also trying to interfere in the Egyptian affairs. And there were a feeling not only among the leadership, but also among the Egyptian layman in the street that the Turkish leadership was not respecting the decision and the will of the Egyptians to live like Egyptians and to be simply a state that is a civil state that is not governed by exclusively. We wanted to be one state where we all live together regardless of our religion or whatever. Unfortunately, Turkey did not understand this at the beginning. Unfortunately, Turkey opened its doors at a certain stage to the Muslim Brotherhood, who many Egyptians, not only the leadership, but Egyptians in the street have denounced them. Yeah. We're very glad that the Turkish authorities have discovered that the importance of Egypt and are going back on what they were doing that were unacceptable by the Egyptians and the Egyptian leadership, and we're open to extend hand to anyone who would respect the unity of our state, respect the international legitimacy, and do not interfere in our internal affairs.
Yes. So definitely, Professor, and from the region to Africa, and Egypt played a very important role in Africa in coordinating among the African leaders. President Abdel Fattah Assisi has been in constant coordination and consultation with African leaders. Mind you, also the fruitful year of the Egyptian presidency of the African Union. We had great achievements today in Africa. The collaboration continues also through the health sector and actually fighting virus C, not only in Egypt but also in Africa. The assistance, also Egypt's assistance and support to Africa vis-a-vis fighting COVID-19. So this important file that the Egyptian important and pivotal role in Africa was not only limited to the year of the Egyptian chairmanship of the African Union.
One of the main pillars of the Egyptian foreign policy after 2013 is its African depth. And let me congratulate all the continent in Africa. Yesterday was Africa Day. So happy Africa Day to all Africans, and we all believe in Pan-Africanism. So as a main pillar of the importance of our African depth, a second pillar is the South-South cooperation. Egypt is very much aware of the importance of working together with our African neighbors all over Africa. 55 countries in the African Union is a real weight. Africa is full of wealth that, with the support of Egypt, could be better exploited and better used. That we can see the number of bilateral visits and the work of Egypt on multilateral level in the African Union. We've seen lots of efforts extended. We've seen also our contractors being building in the infrastructure in Africa, in Tanzania Dam, among other projects to come to link Africa all together for a better Africa, a stronger Africa, for an Africa without terrorism, an Africa that will silence the guns. All these efforts are done together, 55 countries hand in hand, with full respect to each other.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Noha Bakr, Professor of Political Science at AUC, always adding value, Professor Bakr, and reading together the important and successful steps of the Egyptian diplomacy vis-a-vis the regional and international developments happening recently. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be with you, with the audience of Nile TV, and looking forward to a very fruitful future and hopefully to the end of COVID-19 soon.
Thank you so much, Professor. God bless you. And thank you, dear viewers, for joining us. That was exclusive with Taghreed Hussein and highlighting the triumphs of the Egyptian diplomacy vis-a-vis regional and international developments happening on Egyptian soil and also all over the world.